Welcome back, Business Freedom Podcast listeners. I'm calling this part 2 of a 4-part series. If you missed the last podcast, you probably want to dig in and check that out. That podcast was entitled How to Scale Your Business During a Crisis. And I really broke down the overall model that I really want to say you must follow if you want to do this the right way. And this was based on my business growth journey. And it wasn't perfect or easy. It was surely intentional in terms of me not wanting to do the daily, weekly grind of a successful real estate agent. I did 44 units in my first full year in real estate, and that sucked. It was great. I hit the numbers. I was top 1% of my market, and it just sucked. I was, my boy Anders he was born in November 2007, so he was a baby that year. So luckily, he didn't know a whole lot better at the time. And I hired my first buyer agent in 2009. And then we went from 58 to 118 to 178 sides. And that year, 2012, if you haven't heard me already, I only mention all of that and to keep reminding you that I didn't bring any business building experience. I had never marketed anything before. I had never sold anything before. I'd never done any of what I did to do what I did. And that's really the motivation behind this 4-part podcast series, to break down the critical elements for you to be able to scale your business. On the one hand, we want to grow only if it leads us to more freedom. And when I talk about freedom, it's freedom of time, freedom of money, and just more money to enjoy that time, and then freedom from stress. So you'll hear me talk a lot about time, money, and stress. So this part 2 of this 4-part series, we're going to dig into the step-by-step process to create your future. So the first part of the scale model is to create your future. And there are 3 things I'm going to spend more time on in this podcast episode than I did in that first part of the series, where I just did an overview. And I really want you to understand that all of these elements fit together. If you want to build a sustainable, profitable real estate business that doesn't require that you work evenings and weekends consistently, and you make this shift from real estate agent to business owner. That is what real estate, you can see my t-shirt here if you're watching the video, Real Estate B School, Roadmap to Freedom. And that's what we stand for, Roadmap to Freedom. So this is that roadmap, this 4-part series. So create your future. There are 3 things that I want to talk about. I'm going to spend more time to help you fully understand what I mean by each of these 3 elements. The first part is that to get clear on the model, and there's just confusion on the different types of real estate businesses. And when I say real estate business, it's a business that helps buyers and sellers transact, do a real estate transaction. So you help a buyer buy, you help a seller sell. That's a real estate business that I'm talking about. And when I talk about getting clear on the model, what kind of real estate business do you want to own? Do you want to own a brokerage where you have, my Keller Williams Market Center is a brokerage. We're one of 875 independently or something like that. We're the #1 market center for KW. And there's 550 agents or 600 agents or something crazy. The average production of agents in the #1 KW market center in the world is 7 transactions per agent. Now, I know we went through a cleansing and we tried to get rid of some newbies, so maybe that went up to 10 transactions per agent. That is a brokerage. That typical agent is not making really good money. At that production, at 10 units, at 10 units in my market, you're paying a full $25,000 to the market center. So do the math on that. We're about 275,000 average price point times 10 transactions, 275 pays a full cap. Do the 3% on 275 is about 100,000, 25,000 out. Take out your expenses, your office expenses, technology, advertising, maybe a part-time administrator. You're left with like 40, 50 grand, right? That's a typical broker. So do you want to own a market center or a brokerage that runs a bunch of agents doing business a whole bunch of different ways? Or do you want to run a real estate team that's highly coordinated, not a whole bunch of people, not a loose collection of agents, not a traditional team that's low profit margin. A lot of these teams that you see out there boasting hundreds of units or 1,000+ transactions, I have yet to see or I rarely see a real estate team doing a bunch of transactions where they're really profitable. And most of the time they set it up in a way where the real estate team leader has to sell a ton of properties themselves. They have to do a ton of transactions to make the kind of money that they want to make because they set the whole thing up wrong. Or on the far right, we call it a high performance real estate team or a high performance organization, HPO. That's from eMyth. I studied with eMyth for a couple of years back, a whole bunch of years back. And so I've consumed and devoured every kind of business training that you could possibly consume. And so eMyth, what they train their businesses, the businesses that they coach, is to create high performing organizations or HPOs. And in real estate terms, I call them high performance real estate team. And my real estate team, ironically or not, is called High Performance Real Estate Advisors. And so on the far right of this spectrum, brokerages are on the left. On the far right is like the Navy SEALs of real estate, where everyone is accountable. Every expense is accountable. You're tracking at a high level. You're bringing folks on, and you have a cadence that is leading to really great results. Everyone is in their sweet spot. They're making really great money. They're not working too many hours. Everyone is living a life by design within this team that you've built. And so you have to get clear on the model before you start building it. Or if you have one version of it and you're not super happy with it, and you realize that, oh man, I'm starting this brokerage. I have 25 agents in my brokerage and it sucks and I'm losing money. And I'm spending all this time with 25 agents that just suck at life. They suck at business and they're sucking the life out of me and they're sucking the life out of my business. You may be that person and you're realizing that you need to pivot hard into like a Navy SEALs version of that. Let me grab 5 people and bring them over here and we can just do this at a higher level. And so that is what I mean, get clear on the model. What do you want to have this thing look like in the future? And I'm talking 3 to 5 year vision for your real estate business. What do you want to have in the future? And what do you think is going to be relevant in the future? Do you think a brokerage is going to be relevant in the future? Do you think that's going to be more profit in the future or less profit? Or do you think more profit is going to be in a business set up to be the best provider of buyer and seller real estate services in the whole entire land? Like our goal is to be the best provider of real estate services in the entire country. Even though we have a single team in Charlotte, North Carolina, the goal is to be the best at what we do. And so the agent doesn't own the client, the team services the client. And every little interaction with the client is specifically designed to create this unbelievably awesome experience that they can just sing from the hilltops when they get to closing. And so what are you building? That's the question. So the second part here is to put your life first. Again, I want to say like 110% of the time, any successful, quote unquote, conventionally successful real estate agent or team leader, if you really dig into their life, if you could follow them around for a month, 4 weeks straight, and you can look at what they're actually doing and the amount of time they're actually spending in their business and the stress that they're actually enduring and the money that we'll get into money later. That's in Know Your Numbers. That's in the next part. But time, money, and stress, you'll hear me talk about it all the time. So if you look at a traditional team leader's business or even a top producing real estate agent, they have not coordinated all of this, their business, to support their life. Their life is their business, and it is absolutely 7 days a week, and it's absolutely on the evenings, and there are no boundaries whatsoever. So within our construct and the training that we provide to our members, it's important that they know and we deliver the training and implementation support so that they can put their life first. So if your life doesn't come before your business, that is not sustainable. It's just not sustainable. So you have to ask yourself, like, what do you want in your life and what don't you want in your life? Those are 2 important questions. And then on a weekly basis, you have to ask yourself in a 60 to 90 minute clarity break, we call them. What's working and what's not working with respect to time, money, and stress. If all you did for the next 30 days, once a week, so 4 weeks in a row, you sat with yourself, no technology, and you just ask yourself, what's working and what's not working in my business and my life as it relates to time, money, and stress, and just journal. And then what could I do to make this better next week? And just went through that process. I promise you, you'd be better off for it. The third part here in creating your future is to plan your future. There's that Harvard MBA study from, I don't even know when it's from. If you, I don't even know what you would Google. I Googled it one time. It goes something like this. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the gist of it is that they surveyed Harvard MBA graduates, whether they had a plan for their future. And it was something like 15% had a plan, but only 3% had it written. So 85% of this graduating class from Harvard Business School, something like 15% had a plan, but only 3% had a written plan. They polled them like 25 years later or 10 years later. And the 3% that had a written plan out-earned everyone else by 10 times. So if there were 3 that had a written plan and 97 that didn't, the 3 made 10 times, just the 3 of them made 10 times more income than the 97 combined when it came or 10 or 20 years out. So the moral of the story is that you cannot achieve your goals without a written plan. And we call it, our 3-1-90, and then we go weekly, daily with it. Our 3-year vision in 6 areas of your life, 1-year plan in those same 6 areas, 90-day world. What are you going to focus on with respect to those 6 areas in the 90 days to get you closer to your 1-year plan, to hitting your 1-year plan, to achieving your 3-year vision? And then we break down to weekly and daily. If you're not planning your future with that much intention and specificity, you're going to lose the game. You're going to lose the game. You have no chance of hitting a target if you're not at least, you don't have this intention and you're not setting the coordinates properly to achieve that target. And this is where the chance that you fail in a marriage or fail as a parent or fail in your finances or your physical body or in business, it's because you didn't have a plan. And even if you did have a plan, maybe you didn't have an actual way to execute the plan. So planning your future is like the entire game, and you have to have a process for planning your future. So that is it. That is create your future. That's the second part of the 4-part series, but the first part of the 3 parts when it comes down to scaling your business, and especially in the crisis that we're in and the economic turmoil that's coming. There's some that are predicting it's going to be a V. The comeback is going to be quick. I just don't see it that way. As we speak now, as I'm recording this, it's like almost 20 million Americans have claimed unemployment in the last 4 weeks. As of the recording of this, and it may be a week or so until this airs, but that's heavy. It may be up to 24, 25 million by the time this airs. And there are a lot of those jobs will go right back to work when some of the in-home restrictions ease up. I just don't see it. And I'm on the one hand, it's an opportunity for folks that can actually clearly articulate where you want to be in the future. And that's why this part of the scale equation is so critically important. If you're at the point in your business journey where you need to have a conversation with someone that's been ahead of you, that's done this before, maybe you're already starting to scale your business and bringing people into the fold, and you just don't have this clear plan. You don't know your numbers, and you're not growing your team the right way with people that you want to be around. You don't have a cadence at all, no training platform to speak of, and you're not tracking your net worth, and you don't have a way to move money around, and it's just a crap show, but you're growing. Or if you are a top producing agent and you want to launch in right now, and that you could build a business that's sustainable during this time, or even if you have a big real estate team and it's not running the way that it could because you've set it up the wrong way, we deal with all of that. The only thing I can offer you is a conversation with me or one of my business coaches. It's called the Business Growth Strategy Session. Head over to realestatebschool.com. Check out our resources. Also, if it's your time to book in for that free coaching session. We'll dig into really what's it like to show up in your business today. Second part is what you want it to look like in the future. And then the third part is what's holding you back. What are the obstacles that are getting in your way to growth? So I'll see you over at realestatebschool.com. Much love and respect. We'll talk soon.